The great hall of Zarian Prime buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 17 different species gathered around the massive circular table. Ambassador Zethka's blue-scaled hands trembled slightly as he activated the holographic display floating above the center of the room. The image showed a three-dimensional map of their galaxy, with one section glowing in ominous red. For 312 years, Zethka began, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. This region of space has remained completely untouched by any of our civilizations. 847 star systems, dozens of habitable worlds, all controlled by a single species that calls itself human. The other ambassadors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Dr. Velshon, the Centauran xenopsychologist, leaned forward with her 4 eyes focused intently on the display. "The boundary is perfect," she observed. "Not a single probe, not a single scout ship has successfully returned from beyond that line with useful data." "That's not entirely true," interrupted Captain Morthick of the Regaline Defense Force. His insectoid features clicked as he spoke. "Ships have returned, but their crews." He paused, searching for the right words. "Their crews speak of things that make no sense. Ships that move like living creatures. Weapons that seem to think for themselves, and the humans themselves." "Tell them about the Vorthon incident," Zethka said quietly. The room fell even more silent, if that was possible. The Vorthon Collective had been one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy before they encountered the humans. Now they were nothing but a cautionary tale whispered in the darkest corners of space stations. 3 Vorthon battle fleets entered human space, Captain Morthick continued. 15,000 ships, the most advanced weapons technology in the galaxy. They were going to claim the region for the Collective, establish it as their new territory. And, prompted Dr. Velshon, though she already knew the answer, 2 ships returned. Just 2. Out of 15,000? The crews were found days later. Still strapped into their command chairs, staring at nothing, they kept repeating the same phrases over and over. "The burning ones. They sing when they fight, their ships have souls." Ambassador Zethka touched a control. The holographic display zoomed in on the border region. Tiny dots appeared, representing the surveillance network they had spent months positioning around human space. "We have been watching them for 6 months now. It's our most advanced sensors, our best intelligence equipment. What we have discovered defies everything we know about physics, biology, and common sense." The display shifted to show thermal readings from human worlds. Instead of the normal heat signatures of cities and industrial centers, the planet seemed to glow with an inner fire. "Look at their colony worlds," Zethka said. "These planets were barren rocks 50 years ago, dead worlds with poisonous atmospheres. The humans have not just colonized them, they have made them into garden worlds in less time than it takes most species to plan a single terraforming project." Dr. Velshon studied the data with growing concern. That should be impossible. Even with the most advanced technology, reshaping an entire planet's ecosystem takes thousands of years. "Unless you're human," apparently, muttered Captain Morthick. Display changed again, showing intercepts of human communications. The ambassadors listened to recordings of human voices discussing their daily activities. What they heard made their various forms of blood run cold. "Yeah, we had another solar flare storm last week," one human voice said casually. "Lost 3 orbital platforms, but Jake's team had them rebuilt by Thursday." Oh, and the kids found another one of those crystal entities in the asteroid belt. "Adopted it as a class pet." "Crystal entities," Dr. Velshon whispered. "Those are class as xenological hazards. They consume metal and emit deadly radiation. The humans keep them as pets," Ambassador Zethka replied flatly. Another recording played. "The new mining operation is going great, sure. We're drilling through a planet with a molten core and surface temperatures that would melt most metals. But the crew loves a challenge. Morale is through the roof. They colonize planets that should kill them," observed Dr. Velshon, "and they enjoy it." The most disturbing recording came next. It was from a human space station near the border, clearly aware that alien ships were watching from a distance. "Hey, do you think our new neighbors out there are friendly?" a human voice asked. "I mean, they've been watching us for months." Kinda rude not to introduce themselves, but maybe they're just shy. Should we send them a fruit basket or something? Another human replied with what sounded like laughter. Mom always said first impressions matter. I vote for cookies. Everyone likes cookies. The recording ended, leaving the assembly in stunned silence. Captain Morthic was the first to speak. They know we're here. They've known all along. And they're talking about giving us food. The psychological profiles are even more disturbing, Dr. Velshin added, pulling up her research data. We've analyzed thousands of hours of human communications. They don't just survive in dangerous situations. They actively seek them out. What we consider survival instincts, they consider entertainment. The display showed footage captured by long-range sensors of human recreational activities. Humans throwing themselves out of perfectly functional aircraft for fun. Humans deliberately placing themselves in the path of dangerous weather phenomena. Humans racing vehicles at speeds that would be fatal if anything went wrong. And when something does go wrong, Dr. Velshan continued, they don't panic, they don't flee, they laugh. Actually laugh at danger and then figure out how to overcome it. Ambassador Zethka stood slowly, his aged frame showing the weight of his concerns. This is why we are here today. Operation Silent Watch has been approved by the full council. We will discover what makes these humans so dangerous that every species in the galaxy instinctively avoids their territory. We will learn their secrets, understand their capabilities, and determine if they represent a threat to galactic peace, or if they represent something much worse. Captain Morthic added grimly. The meeting dissolved into urgent whispers and heated discussions as the representatives began planning humanity's investigation. None of them noticed the small human observation satellite that had been quietly recording their entire gathering from just outside their detection range, back in human space. Captain Jake Morrison smiled as he reviewed the alien transmission. His ship had intercepted. Lisa, he called to his intelligence officer, you're going to want to see this. Looks like our neighbors are finally ready to make contact. Sort of. The hunt for humanity's secrets was about to begin. Admiral Kithmore stood on the bridge of the Centauran flagship, watching the deployment of the largest surveillance operation in galactic history. 300 ships from 17 different species spread out along the border of human space, each one maintaining what their scientists hoped was a safe distance. The ships carried the most advanced sensor equipment their civilizations could produce, designed to observe and record every detail of human activity without being detected. All stations report ready, Admiral, his communications officer announced. The bridge crew worked in silence, their various alien forms hunched over control panels that hummed with nervous energy. Dr. Velshin moved between monitoring stations, checking the readouts from thousands of sensor probes that had been scattered throughout the region. Each probe was the size of a small asteroid, designed to look like natural space debris. While recording everything from gravitational fluctuations to electromagnetic signatures, the probe network is active, she reported. We're getting clear readings from the outer edge of their territory. Admiral, there's something strange about their patrol patterns. Kithmore joined her at the main display. The screen showed human ships moving through their space in what appeared to be random patterns. I don't see any defensive formations, he observed. No battle groups, no strategic positioning. It's almost like they're not concerned about threats. What worries me, Dr. Velshin replied. A species that doesn't fear attack is either incredibly powerful or incredibly foolish. And everything we know about humans suggests they're not foolish. Across the galaxy, Commander Ryan Blake sat in his command chair aboard the EDS Valiant, watching his sensor officer work. The Earth Defense Force had been aware of the alien buildup for weeks, but their orders were simple. Observe and do not engage unless directly threatened. Sir, we're picking up some interesting readings, reported Dr. Amy Patterson, looking up from her science station. The aliens have deployed what looks like a massive sensor network. Thousands of probes, all designed to monitor our activities. Study the tactical display showing the positions of alien ships and monitoring devices. They're being very careful to stay outside our territorial boundaries. Professional work. What are they hoping to learn? Based on their probe configurations, they're monitoring everything. Our ship movements, communication frequencies, even atmospheric samples from our colonies. They're trying to build a picture of human civilization. And what picture are they getting? Amy pulled up a data analysis report. Well, sir, they're probably confused. Our shipping routes don't follow standard commercial patterns. Our military patrols seem random. And our colonies are developing in ways that should be impossible. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Impossible how? Take the New Dakota colony. According to their sensors, it was a frozen wasteland 6 months ago. Now it's showing signs of a fully developed ecosystem. Forests, oceans, even weather patterns. They must think we have some kind of super advanced terraforming technology, or they think we're lying about our capabilities, Ryan mused. What else are they picking up? This is where it gets interesting, sir. They're monitoring our entertainment, broadcasts, our news feeds, our casual communications. And based on what they're hearing, they probably think we're all insane. The main screen displayed a collection of intercepted human communications that the aliens had been analyzing. Ryan read through them with growing amusement. Sports commentators describing extreme weather events as perfect game conditions. News reports about citizens volunteering to help with dangerous rescue operations. Casual conversations about weekend activities that involved what most species would consider mortal peril. Sir, there's something else, Amy continued. The aliens have been trying to analyze our DNA using trace particles in space. Skin cells, hair, anything that might tell them about our biology. And what are they finding? Nothing that makes sense to them. Our genetic structure suggests we should be fragile, short-lived, and unable to survive in most environments. But their observations show us thriving in conditions that should kill us. Meanwhile, Dr. Velshin was experiencing her own confusion. As she reviewed the biological data, human genetic code was unlike anything in the Galactic database. It showed signs of rapid adaptation, almost as if the species was constantly evolving to meet new challenges. This is impossible, she muttered, staring at the genetic analysis. Their DNA suggests they've survived multiple extinction events. Not just survived, but thrived. How does a species develop this kind of resilience? Admiral Kithmore joined her at the research station. What have you discovered? Humans appear to be the result of a planet that tried very hard to kill them. For millions of years, ice ages, volcanic eruptions, meteor impacts, climate changes that should have wiped them out completely. Instead, each challenge made them stronger. That would explain their apparent fearlessness, the Admiral observed. If your species survived the worst a planet could throw at it, other dangers might seem manageable. But it's more than that, Dr. Velshin continued. Look at these psychological profiles. Humans don't just survive disasters. They form emotional bonds with each other that drive them to take incredible risks to protect their groups. They'll sacrifice themselves for strangers. They adopt other species as family members. They even form attachments to their machines and equipment. The Admiral studied the data with growing concern. Emotional bonds that strong could make them unpredictable in combat situations, or incredibly dangerous, Dr. Velshin added. What? Species that fights not just for survival but for love is a species that will never surrender. Back on the EDS Valiant, Ryan was reading reports from other human ships along the border. The pattern was consistent across all monitoring stations. The aliens were watching, recording, and analyzing, but they were also maintaining a respectful distance. Sir, we're getting reports from the Lunar Defense Command, Amy announced. Detected alien communication transmissions discussing our agricultural practices. Our farming methods worry them, apparently, sir? They're confused about how we can grow food on planets with hostile environments. They keep mentioning something called impossible yields and adaptive cultivation techniques. Ryan chuckled. They obviously haven't met farm families from the Midwest. Those people could grow corn on an asteroid if they put their minds to it. The aliens also seem concerned about our manufacturing capabilities, Amy continued. They're monitoring our industrial output and can't understand how we're producing so much with what appears to be limited resources. Let me guess. They haven't figured out human ingenuity yet, no, sir. They keep looking for advanced technology to explain our productivity. They don't seem to understand that humans just work harder and smarter when they need to. Dr. Velshin was reaching similar conclusions as she reviewed more data. Human industrial capacity seemed to operate on principles that defied standard Economic models. When faced with shortages, instead of reducing production, humans found ways to increase efficiency. When confronted with technical problems, they didn't just solve them, they turned them into advantages. "Admiral," she called out, "I'm seeing something in their military communications that doesn't make sense." Kithmore joined her once again. "What kind of something?" "They're discussing combat tactics, but not the way we would. They're not planning to defend against specific threats. They're planning to adapt to unknown challenges. It's like they expect every battle to be completely different from the last one. That's an unusual strategic approach." "It's more than unusual, Admiral. It's terrifying. Most species develop military doctrine based on known threats and established tactics. Humans seem to be preparing for threats they haven't even encountered yet. The surveillance operation was providing more questions than answers. Every piece of data about human civilization revealed new mysteries. Their technology was advanced but not impossible. Their biology was resilient but not superhuman. Their psychology was complex but not incomprehensible. Yet somehow, the combination of all these factors had created a species that every other civilization instinctively feared." As the monitoring continued, one thing became clear to the alien observers: understanding humans would require more than just watching them from a distance. It would require understanding how a species could turn every challenge into an opportunity, every setback into a lesson, and every threat into a chance. To grow stronger, the investigation was just beginning. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, watching holographic displays that showed the positions of alien ships scattered along their borders. The room buzzed with quiet activity as intelligence officers analyzed data streams from dozens of monitoring stations. "They've been watching us for 8 months now," reported Colonel Ben Parker, studying the tactical displays. "Same pattern every day. They stay exactly at the edge of our territorial boundaries, record everything we do, then analyze it back on their ships." Kate nodded thoughtfully. "What have we learned about them while they've been learning about us?" "It's quite a lot, actually," Ben replied, pulling up files on his portable display. 17 different species working together. That's unprecedented in galactic politics. Usually these civilizations can barely agree on trade routes, let alone coordinate a joint intelligence operation. "So we're special enough to unite the galaxy in curiosity," Kate observed with a slight smile. "What else?" "They're genuinely afraid. Of us, Admiral. Not suspicious, not cautious, afraid. Their communication intercepts show stress indicators every time they discuss human capabilities. They're treating this like a threat assessment for a potential war." Kate walked over to the main display showing Earth's solar system. "Have they made any aggressive moves?" "None whatsoever. They're being very careful to respect our space. Professional, even polite in their surveillance methods." "God. But Admiral, there's something you need to see." Ben activated a new display showing intercepted alien communications from the past week. The translations appeared as text alongside audio recordings of various alien voices discussing their observations. "Listen to this one from the Centauran research team," Ben said, playing a recording. The alien voice was tense with confusion. "The humans have established 17 new colonies in the past 6 months. 17. Planets that our geological surveys classified as uninhabitable. Too hot, too cold, too much radiation, not enough atmosphere. The humans are living there anyway. Not just surviving, they're building cities." Another voice replied, "Perhaps their environmental suits are more advanced than we thought." "No, you don't understand. They're not wearing environmental suits. They're walking around in regular clothing, breathing the air, growing food and soil. That should be poisonous." Kate paused the recording. "They think we have superhuman biology." "Gets better," Ben continued, playing another intercept. This one was from a Rigelian military analyst discussing human transportation methods. "Their cargo ships are moving at impossible speeds. Our physics models say those acceleration rates should turn the crew into paste, but we're detecting life signs. The humans are alive and apparently comfortable during maneuvers that should kill them. Are their ships using some kind of inertial dampening technology we don't understand? That's what we thought initially. But we've analyzed their ship designs. The technology is advanced, but not beyond our comprehension. The ships shouldn't be able to do what we're observing." Kate looked at Ben with raised eyebrows. They don't know about our grav compensation systems? Apparently not. To them, our standard artificial gravity looks like impossible technology. But Admiral, the really interesting part is what they think about our weapons. The next recording was from a Thraxian weapons specialist, and his voice carried obvious fear. I've been analyzing the energy signatures from human military vessels. Weapon systems are producing power readings that don't match any known technology. And the targeting systems appear to be self-aware. Self-aware weapons. The targeting. Computers are making decisions faster than any artificial intelligence we've encountered. They're predicting enemy movements, adapting to countermeasures, even learning from previous engagements. It's like the weapons are thinking. Kate shook her head in amazement. Our standard tactical AI seems miraculous to them. But here's where it gets really interesting, Ben said, playing one more recording. This one was from Dr. Velshin herself, discussing human psychology. I've been analyzing their entertainment broadcasts, their news reports, their casual conversations. I'm beginning to understand why every species fears them. It's not their technology. It's not their biology. It's their mindset. Explain. Humans don't just accept challenges, they enjoy them. What we consider disasters, they consider opportunities. What we call impossible, they call Tuesday. They have a saying, hold my beer and watch this. Our linguists believe this phrase indicates they're about to attempt something suicidal. And then what happens? They succeed. They actually succeed at the suicidal thing. And then they laugh about it. Kate turned off the recording and looked at her staff. So they think we're crazy. Crazy and effective, Ben confirmed. Admiral, there's something else. We've detected unusual activity from one of their observation posts. Lieutenant Colonel Parker's reconnaissance team found something interesting. Ben activated a new display showing detailed scans of an alien. Monitoring station positioned near the outer edge of human space. The station was massive, easily the size of a small moon. But what caught Kate's attention were the defensive installations surrounding it. Those aren't weapons pointed at us, she observed. No, ma'am, they're shields. Barriers. The aliens have built elaborate protective systems around their observation equipment. But the shields aren't designed to hide from us. They're designed to protect them from us. Protect them from what exactly? Based on the shield configurations, they believe humans emit some kind of dangerous energy. They've surrounded their entire station with psychic dampeners, radiation barriers, and what appears to be quantum interference generators. Kate stared at the display in disbelief. They think we're radioactive? Not radioactive, Admiral. They think we're psychically dangerous? Their equipment is designed to protect against mental influence, telepathic attacks, and something they call reality distortion fields. Reality distortion fields? Apparently they believe human presence can alter local physics, make impossible things possible just by being nearby. Kate sat down heavily in her command chair. Ben, patch me through to Captain Morrison on the Valiant. I want to hear his take on this. The communication system activated, and Jake Morrison's voice filled the command center. Admiral, we've been monitoring the same intelligence feeds. The aliens are convinced we're some kind of cosmic horror story. What's your assessment of their intentions? They're not hostile, ma'am. They're genuinely trying to understand us. But they're approaching it like scientists studying a dangerous new form of life. It's very careful, very respectful, but absolutely terrified of direct contact. Any recommendations? Well, Admiral, they've been watching us for 8 months without making contact. Maybe it's time we introduced ourselves properly. Show them that humans are friendly neighbors, not galactic monsters. Kate considered this. The problem is, Jake, everything we do seems to reinforce their fears. Our normal daily activities look like supernatural abilities to them. Then maybe we need to explain that what looks impossible to them is just normal life for humans. Admiral, I think they're operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about human nature, which is they think we're trying to be intimidating. They don't realize we're just being ourselves. Kate looked at the displays, showing alien positions, their defensive measures, their careful monitoring equipment. Ben, prepare a first contact. Protocol. Nothing threatening, nothing that might seem aggressive, just a simple greeting. "What kind of greeting, Admiral?" Kate smiled. "The kind humans always use. Friendly, direct, and completely honest about who we are." "The aliens might not be ready for complete honesty about human nature, ma'am." "Then they're about to get a very interesting education," Kate replied. "Because hiding who we are hasn't reduced their fears. Maybe showing them exactly who we are will help them understand there's nothing to be afraid of." Ben activated his communication systems to begin drafting the first official contact between humanity and the galactic community. Neither he nor Admiral Sullivan realized that this simple act of friendship would completely revolutionize alien understanding of what it meant to be human. The galaxy was about to discover that their greatest fear was actually their greatest potential ally. Colonel Grace Turner sat in the intelligence briefing room aboard the orbital defense station. Reading through the most classified files in human possession, documents spread across her table told a story that would have shocked the alien observers if they had known the truth. Earth Defense Command had been aware of galactic civilization for over 300 years. The first alien contact wasn't recent, she explained to her analysis team. "We've been quietly monitoring 17 different species since 2387. The Thraxians, the Centaurans, the Rigelians, all of them. We know their languages, their cultures, their military capabilities, and their deepest fears." Lieutenant Commander Steve Collins looked up from his datapad. "It's when they started watching us 8 months ago. We already knew who they were. We knew everything about them," Grace confirmed. "What we didn't know was why they were finally brave enough to organize a joint surveillance operation. So we let them watch, recorded everything they said, and analyzed their behavior patterns." The main display showed a timeline of human-alien interactions spanning centuries. Red markers indicated every time an alien expedition had attempted to enter human space. The pattern was disturbing and consistent. "Look at the dates," Grace said, pointing to the timeline. "Every 20 to 30 years, some alien civilization decides to investigate the mysterious humans. They send scouts, sometimes whole fleets, and every single mission ends the same way. Complete failure," observed Dr. Lisa Martinez, the team's xenobiologist. "But why? What happens to them in our space?" Grace activated a series of classified recordings from past encounters. The first was from 2891, when a Vorthan exploration fleet had attempted to establish a research station in the outer solar system. The alien voice in the recording was calm at first. "Vorthan Command, this is Research Station Alpha. We have established orbit around the human gas giant Jupiter, beginning long-range observations of the third planet." The next transmission recorded 3 days later showed strain. "Command, we're detecting unusual readings from human vessels. Their ships are moving in formation patterns that suggest they're aware of our presence, but they haven't made contact." A week later, the tone had changed completely. "Command, the humans have approached our station. They're not attacking. They're offering to help. They say they noticed we were having problems with our life support systems and wanted to know if we needed assistance." The final transmission was barely coherent. "They fixed our station. They actually repaired our failing systems and refused any payment. Then they gave us a tour of their facilities. Command, you need to understand. These humans live in conditions that should kill them. They work in environments that would destroy our equipment. And they're happy. They're actually happy doing impossible things." Grace paused the recording. The Vorthan expedition returned to their home space with reports that Earth Defense Command classified as too dangerous for public release. But the reports weren't about human weapons or military strength. "What were they about?" Steve asked. "Human psychology." The Vorthans had concluded that humans were so psychologically different from other species that contact would be catastrophic for galactic civilization. Dr. Martinez pulled up her own research files. "I've been analyzing these historical reports. The pattern is always the same. Aliens enter human space, expecting to find either primitive beings they can dominate or advanced beings they need to fear. Instead, they find people who treat the impossible as routine and danger as entertainment."
Yo, Grace
nodded. "And every time the alien crews return home convinced that humans are some kind of cosmic anomaly that needs to be avoided at all costs." The display changed to show recent intelligence intercepts from the current surveillance operation. "Dr. Velshin's voice played through the speakers, discussing her latest psychological analysis of human behavior. "I've been studying their response to the mining disaster on Colony 7, the alien psychologist was saying. A volcanic eruption destroyed half their mining operation and trapped 300 workers underground. Any rational species would evacuate the remaining population and abandon the colony." "And what did the humans do?" came the reply. "They sent more people, not just rescue teams. Engineers, geologists, families of the trapped workers. They turned the disaster into a community effort. Children were helping design rescue equipment. Elderly humans were volunteering for dangerous extraction missions, and they were singing while they worked." Singing? They have a tradition of creating music during crisis situations. "It appears to improve their coordination and reduce stress." The rescue operation succeeded in 18 hours with 0 casualties. Then they rebuilt the entire mining complex in 6 weeks using improved designs that incorporated lessons learned from the disaster. Grace turned off the recording. "This is why they're afraid of us. Not because we're violent or aggressive, but because we respond to disasters by getting stronger." Steve studied the data with growing understanding. They've never encountered a species that treats setbacks as learning opportunities. "It's more than that," Dr. Martinez added. "They've never seen a species that forms emotional bonds strong enough to drive them toward danger instead of away. From it, when humans see someone in trouble, their instinct is to help, even if it means risking their own lives." Grace activated another file, this one containing audio from human rescue operations that the aliens had monitored. The recordings showed human teams responding to emergencies on various colonies, and in every case the humans were calm, efficient, and determined. "Listen to this one from the space station fire last month," Grace said, playing a recording of human emergency responders. "Okay, team, we've got 40 people trapped in Section C," a human voice said calmly. "The fire's spreading, life support is failing, and the structure is unstable. Anyone want to call in sick today?" Laughter came through the audio. "Are you kidding? This is the most fun I've had all week." "Right then, Lisa, take your team through the maintenance shafts. Ben, we'll need you to jury-rig a portable life support system. And Dave, think you can pilot a rescue shuttle through those debris fields without getting us all killed? Can't promise anything, but it should be interesting. Outstanding. Let's go save some people." The recording continued with cheerful, professional voices coordinating a rescue operation that should have been terrifying. Instead of panic or hesitation, the humans demonstrated excitement about solving a complex problem under dangerous conditions. Grace paused the audio. The aliens recorded this entire rescue operation, 40 people saved with no casualties, and the human teams were treating it like a challenging puzzle to solve. "No wonder they think we're insane," Steve observed. "But here's the really interesting part," Grace continued, activating a new display. "We've been monitoring their internal communications, and they're starting to piece together the bigger picture. They're realizing that human space isn't forbidden because we're aggressive. It's avoided because we accidentally created a reputation as cosmic horror stories." The display showed a recent communication between Dr. Velshin and Admiral Kith Moore, discussing their growing understanding of human nature. "Admiral, I believe we've been approaching this investigation from the wrong angle," Dr. Velshin was saying. "We've been treating humans as a potential threat to be analyzed and understood. But what if they're not trying to be threatening at all? Explain. What if everything that makes them seem dangerous to us is just normal behavior for their species? What if they're not trying to intimidate other civilizations? What if they're just being themselves? That might be even more disturbing, Doctor. A species that casually does impossible things without realizing they're impossible. Or a species that's been waiting for the rest of us to be ready for friendship while quietly protecting the galaxy from threats we don't even know about." Grace turned off the recording and looked at her team. "That last part is more accurate than they realize." Steve raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Grace activated a highly classified display showing human deep space monitoring operations. The screen revealed massive sensor networks extending far beyond known space tracking. Cosmic phenomena and unidentified threats. For the past 200 years, Earth's Defense Command has been dealing with problems that would terrify every other species in the galaxy, Grace explained. Interdimensional incursions, rogue artificial intelligences, cosmic entities that eat entire star systems. We handle these threats quietly, efficiently, and without bothering our neighbors with the details. Dr. Martinez stared at the display in amazement. We're the galaxy's unofficial security force. More than that, Grace replied. We're the species that deals with the nightmares so everyone else can sleep peacefully. The other civilizations have no idea how much danger they're not in because humans are taking care of it. The revelation hung in the air as the team processed the implications. The aliens weren't just afraid of human capabilities. They were completely unaware that those capabilities were being used to protect them. So what happens when they finally make contact? Steve asked. Dr. Velshan stood before the massive holographic display in the main research chamber, watching archived footage that had taken her team months to uncover. The video showed a human negotiator sitting across from a delegation of Vorthan military commanders 300 years ago. What she was seeing challenged everything she thought she knew about first contact protocols. Play it again, she instructed her research assistant. The recording began with Commander Nick Stevens, a human diplomatic officer, entering a meeting room aboard a Vorthon battlecruiser. The aliens had clearly expected to intimidate this lone human representative with their superior numbers and advanced weapons. Instead, Nick had walked in carrying a thermal container and wearing a friendly smile. Good morning, everyone, Nick said cheerfully, setting his container on the conference table. I brought coffee. Hope you don't mind, but I wasn't sure what kind of refreshments you prefer. The Vorthon commander, a massive insectoid creature with razor-sharp claws, leaned forward menacingly. Human, you will surrender your territory to the collective or face the consequences. Nick poured himself a cup of coffee from the thermal container, completely ignoring the threat. That's an interesting proposal. But before we discuss territorial arrangements, I should probably mention that your ship's plasma containment system is showing some instability. You might want to have your engineers look at that. Our systems are perfectly functional, the Vorthan snapped. Oh, I'm sure they are under normal circumstances, Nick replied, taking a sip of coffee. But you're operating in our space now, and our local magnetic fields can interfere with certain types of plasma technology. Nothing dangerous, just efficiency drops and occasional containment fluctuations. As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout the Vorthan ship. Emergency lights flashed as the plasma containment system triggered. Automatic safety protocols. Dr. Velshan paused the recording and turned to her team. At this point, the Vorthans believed the human had somehow sabotaged their ship using unknown technology. But that's not what happened, is it? Asked her assistant. No. Our analysis shows that Nick Stevens was telling the truth. Human space does have unusual magnetic field fluctuations that interfere with certain plasma technologies. He was trying to be helpful. The recording continued with Nick calmly finishing his coffee while Vorthan engineers frantically worked to stabilize their systems. When the alarms finally stopped, Nick looked up with genuine concern. Is everyone okay? I should have warned you earlier, but I thought your ships would have automatic compensation for field variations. The Vorthan commander stared at him with compound eyes that showed obvious confusion. You did not cause our system failure? Of course not. Why would I do that? Nick seemed genuinely puzzled by the question. I'm here to discuss mutual cooperation and trade agreements. Sabotaging your ship would be incredibly rude, but you knew it would happen. Nick shrugged. Sure, we've been monitoring your approach. For weeks, your plasma signatures showed the same instability patterns we see with most quantum-based containment systems. It's just basic physics. Dr. Velshan fast-forwarded through several hours of technical discussions where Nick patiently explained human understanding of local space phenomena, offered to share technological solutions, and suggested ways the Vorthines could modify their systems to operate safely in the region. The entire time she explained to her team, the human was being genuinely helpful. But watch the Vorthan reactions. The alien commanders were becoming increasingly agitated, not because Nick was threatening them, because his casual knowledge in matter, in fact problem-solving, abilities made their advanced technology seem primitive by comparison. How do you know so much about our systems? Vorthan Commander finally demanded. Nick looked surprised by the question. We've been studying galactic technology for centuries. Your engineering principles are quite elegant, actually. Very efficient use of quantum mechanics, though the plasma matrix could be more stable with a few minor adjustments. You've been studying us for centuries? Well, not just you specifically. All the various civilizations in this region? To understand our neighbors, knowledge sharing, technological exchange, that sort of thing, makes for better relationships. The Vorthan commander's mandibles clicked nervously. And what do you want in return for this knowledge? Nick finished his coffee and smiled. Nothing. Information should be free. Besides, helping neighbors is just what you do, right? Dr. Velshan stopped the recording and activated her analysis files. This is where the Vorthan expedition began to break down psychologically. They had come expecting to conquer a primitive species or negotiate with an advanced military power. Instead, they found people who treated them like friendly neighbors and casually solved their technical problems without asking for anything in return. Her assistant studied the psychological profiles that had been compiled from the encounter. The Vorthons interpreted human helpfulness as a demonstration of superior power. Exactly. From their perspective, a species that could casually fix their most advanced technology while offering free coffee had to be so far beyond them that resistance was meaningless. The recording resumed with the final part of the meeting. Tikud pulled out a data pad and was showing the Vorthan star charts of human space, pointing out interesting phenomena and suggested travel routes that would be safer for their ship designs. Oh, and if you're ever in the Sol system, Earth has some beautiful sightseeing opportunities, Nick was saying. The rings of Saturn are spectacular this time of year, and Luna City has excellent restaurants. Just send word ahead so we can arrange proper diplomatic escorts. Diplomatic escorts? The Vorthan commander asked weakly. Standard safety protocol? Not for you, for us. Human space has some unusual hazards that most species aren't equipped to handle. Solar flares, gravitational anomalies, the occasional interdimensional rift. Nothing too dangerous if you know what to avoid, but we'd hate for visiting friends to run into trouble. Dr. Velshan turned to her team with a grim expression. Interdimensional rifts. He mentioned interdimensional rifts as a casual hazard of visiting human space. Do we have any data on these phenomena? Her assistant asked. That's what's truly disturbing. Our long-range sensors have detected energy signatures consistent with dimensional breaches throughout human territory. But the humans treat them like weather patterns. Inconvenient but manageable. She activated another file showing recent sensor data from the human border regions. The readings showed massive energy fluctuations that should have been catastrophic. To any nearby civilizations? Look at this data from last month. Dimensional breach opened near the human colony of New Texas. The energy release should have sterilized half the star system. And what happened? The humans sealed it in 43 minutes using what they called standard emergency protocols. Then they went back to their normal activities like nothing had happened. The implications were staggering. Humans routinely dealt with interdimensional threats as minor emergencies. What did that say about their actual capabilities? Dr. Velshan pulled up the final psychological evaluation of the Vorthan crew. The expedition commander concluded that humans were so far beyond normal galactic civilization that contact would be psychologically devastating for most species. He recommended that human space be declared permanently off-limits. And the other crew members. 60% required psychological treatment for what their doctors called cosmic insignificance syndrome. They had been confronted with the reality that their most advanced achievements were seen as charming curiosities by a species that considered interdimensional rifts a routine inconvenience. Her assistant reviewed the historical records with growing understanding. So every alien expedition that encounters humans comes to the same conclusion. They realize that humans aren't just technologically advanced, they're psychologically equipped to handle cosmically level threats that would drive other species insane. And they do it while being genuinely friendly and helpful. Dr. Velshan activated the final piece of evidence, a communication intercept from just hours ago.
Admiral.
Kate Sullivan was addressing the current alien surveillance fleet directly. "To our galactic neighbors who have been observing us," Kate's voice said warmly, "we know you're out there, and we want you to know you're welcome to visit any time. We understand you might have concerns about human space, but we'd be happy to discuss any safety protocols or provide escort services to make sure everyone stays comfortable. We've prepared some gift packages as a gesture of friendship. Nothing fancy, just some Earth coffee, chocolate, and a few technical manuals that might help with the plasma containment issues we've noticed some of your ships experiencing. We'll leave them at the boundary markers whenever you're ready." Message ended with Kate's cheerful voice adding, "Oh, don't worry about the dimensional breach that opened near your observation post yesterday. We've got it contained, but let us know if you notice any unusual gravitational effects. Sometimes the cleanup process can cause minor space-time ripples." Dr. Velshin turned off the recording and stared at her team in stunned silence. The humans were casually mentioning that they had cleaned up a dimensional breach near alien ships as a neighborly courtesy. The emergency alarms throughout the alien observation fleet began screaming at exactly 0347 Galactic Standard Time. Admiral Kithmore rushed to his command center to find his officers in complete panic, their various alien features showing universal signs of terror. "Admiral, massive energy signature detected at grid, reference 779. His sensor officer reported with a trembling voice. "It's not showing up on any of our threat databases." The main display activated, showing a tier in space itself. That stretched across several light minutes. Through the dimensional rift, something vast and hungry was pushing its way into their reality. The creature that emerged defied description, a biomechanical nightmare that seemed to consume light itself as it moved. "By the void," whispered Dr. Velshin, staring at readings that made no sense. "It's feeding on the fabric of space-time. Our ships won't even register as significant matter to something that size." The alien fleet found itself directly in the path of the cosmic horror. Their most powerful weapons would be like throwing pebbles at a moon. Evacuation was impossible at their current distance from the nearest inhabited system. For the first time in their surveillance mission, the 17 species faced the very real possibility of complete annihilation. "All ships, emergency retreat." "Protocol," Admiral Kithmore ordered, though he knew it was hopeless. The creature was moving faster than their ships could travel. It seemed to be deliberately targeting their fleet. Then something impossible happened. Every human ship within 50 light-years began moving toward the threat instead of away from it. Captain Jake Morrison, aboard the EDS Valiant, was the first to arrive, the ship materializing out of hyperspace between the alien fleet and the approaching monster. His communications officer immediately opened channels to all nearby vessels. "This is Captain Morrison of Earth Defense. Alien friends, you need to move back about 20 light minutes and lower your shields. We're going to try something that might get a little noisy." "Human vessel," Admiral Kithmore responded immediately. "You cannot possibly face that creature alone. Our combined fleets would be insufficient." Jake's voice came back cheerful and confident. "Oh, we're not alone. Give us about 30 seconds. The space around the alien fleet suddenly filled with human ships appearing from every direction. Not just military vessels, but civilian transports, mining ships, even what appeared to be recreational craft. Within minutes, over 300 human vessels had formed a protective barrier around the alien observation fleet. Admiral Tony Mitchell's voice came over the communication system, addressing both human and alien ships with calm authority. "All right, people, we've got a Class 7 dimensional predator with what looks like reality and capabilities. Standard protocol is in effect. Science teams, I need weakness analysis in 2 minutes. Combat wings, begin harassment patterns. Vessels, start evacuation preparations for our new friends." Dr. Velshin watched in amazement as human ships began coordinating an attack on something that should have been impossible to fight. The smaller vessels moved in complex patterns around the creature, somehow avoiding its grasping appendages. While directing precise energy bursts at specific points on its body, they're mapping its nervous system, she whispered in disbelief. In real time, during combat, They're learning how it thinks. But what truly shocked the alien observers was the sound coming from the human ships. They were singing. The song started with just a few voices, human crew members coordinating their attacks with an ancient melody that somehow made their movements more precise. Soon, hundreds of human voices were joining in, creating a complex harmony that seemed to resonate through space itself. Are they singing? Admiral Kithmore asked, his voice filled with wonder. Captain Morrison's reply came through the communication system. Helps with coordination and morale. Plus, Linda started that particular song, and she's got a really nice voice. Seemed a shame to waste it. The creature tried to focus its attack on the human fleet, but every time it moved toward one group of ships, another group would appear behind it, striking at what the humans had somehow identified as vulnerable points. The singing grew louder and more complex, with different human ships taking different parts of the harmony. Admiral Dr. Velshin reported with growing excitement. The humans aren't just fighting it. They're enjoying this. Her bio readings show elevated mood indicators. They're actually having fun. The battle continued for 20 minutes, with human ships dancing around the cosmic horror like pilots in an elaborate aerial display. The creature became increasingly frustrated as its attacks consistently missed their targets, while human weapons found their mark with impossible precision. Then Admiral Mitchell's voice came over the communication system again. All right, folks. Science team reports they've found the shutdown sequence. All ships prepare for synchronized burst on my mark. And Linda, give us that high note for the finale. The human fleet moved into perfect formation around the creature. Every ship powered up their weapons simultaneously, while the singing reached a crescendo that seemed to make space itself vibrate. On Admiral Mitchell's command, 300 human ships fired in perfect unison, while hundreds of voices hit a note so pure and strong that the alien observers felt it in their souls. The creature stopped moving. Its reality-consuming appendages went still. And then, impossibly, it began to retreat back through the dimensional rift. The tear in space sealed itself with a sound like cosmic laughter, leaving only empty space where the threat had been. The singing stopped, replaced by cheerful human voices discussing the battle like a successful group project. Nice work, everyone. Cleanup crews. Make sure there's no dimensional residue. Science teams. File your reports when convenient. And somebody remind me to put Linda in for a commendation. That high note was perfect. Admiral Kithmore sat in stunned silence as human ships began approaching the alien fleet. Instead of demanding gratitude or payment for the rescue, they were offering assistance with ship repairs and medical aid. Alien vessels. This is Captain Morrison. Sorry about the excitement. These interdimensional breaches happen sometimes, but we've got them pretty well figured out by now. Anyone need help? With system diagnostics? That much reality distortion can mess with navigation equipment? Dr. Velshin finally found her voice. Captain Morrison, your people just saved our entire fleet from certain destruction. How can we ever repay you? Jake's response was immediate and genuinely puzzled. Repay us? For what? You're our neighbors? Neighbors help each other. That's just what you do. But the creature was beyond anything our civilizations could handle. Well, sure, but you guys handle lots of things we can't. Trade logistics, cultural exchanges, artistic development. Everyone has their specialties. Ours just happens to be dealing with cosmic nightmares. Admiral Kithmore finally understood. You've been protecting the entire galaxy. Not protecting Jake, corrected gently. Just cleaning up the neighborhood. Making sure everyone can live safely and peacefully. Though honestly, we've been hoping for centuries that you'd all be ready. To meet us properly gets a little lonely out here sometimes. The communication channels filled with voices from 17 different species, all trying to express gratitude and amazement simultaneously. Through the chaos, Admiral Mitchell's calm voice cut through. Tell you what, folks, why don't you all come visit Earth next week? We're having a barbecue, and my wife makes incredible potato salad. We've got a lot to talk about, and it's about time we all got to know each other properly. Dr. Velshin looked at her research data, her psychological profiles, her carefully compiled threat assessments. None of it mattered now. The humans weren't cosmic horrors or incomprehensible aliens. They were neighbors who had been patiently waiting for their friends to realize that the galaxy's greatest protectors were also its most welcoming hosts. "Admiral," she said to Kithmore, "I recommend we accept their invitation." All 17 species? All 17 species. It's time. We learned what it really means to be part of a galactic community, as the human and alien fleets began moving together toward Earth. Captain Morrison's final log entry summarized the moment perfectly. First official contact with galactic civilization completed successfully. Initial response positive. Recommend. Preparing extra hamburgers for the barbecue? We're finally going to have the neighbors over, and after 300 years of waiting, that's definitely worth celebrating. The age of isolation was over. The age of friendship had begun.